Perfect. All right. We are doing 45 to 60-ish minutes of live side split stretching and hip mobility starting right now. We do this every single day to practice consistency, to build a little bit of community. I try to bring good vibes to the internet, and I hope you bring good vibes into the chat, because hopefully that combination of good vibes, consistency, community helps us to practice, put in a lot of effort, and make a whole bunch of progress in our hip mobility and our side split goals. If that sounds like fun, join in, hang out for a little bit, work on the exercises with us. We're starting from the very beginning right now. And if you enjoyed this session, make sure to hit follow, make sure to hit subscribe. Cool. Let's go. The first thing that we're going to do is called hip cars. Hip cars are all about moving your legs through their maximum range of motion using your own muscle power, right? So we're going to start by bringing the knee up as high as we can directly to the front. We're going to open up that hip. We're going to point that leg directly to the side, as wide open as you can. From here, we're going to rotate that leg and try to get the ankle to horizontal. I'm going to swing over here and hold onto the table for a little bit of balance. Once you get here, I want you to keep going. Bring that ankle up, up, as high as you can. And then finally, we're going to bring the leg down and back. Flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes, and end up in this position. Try to feel the stretch here in your hip flexors. This is called a leg extension, and we're trying to extend that leg back behind us. That is 1 rep. We're going to do 10 in total for the left side, then 10 for the right side, and then we're going to reverse the whole thing. Let's get started. High knee, open directly to the side. Rotate the leg so the ankle is horizontal, then keep going. Bring that ankle up. Bring the leg down and back. Flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes, and that is 1 rep. High knee, open, ankle up, down and back. 2, open, ankle up, down and back. 3, open, ankle, down and back. 4, open, ankle, down and back. 5, open, ankle, down and back. 6, open, ankle, down and back. 7, open, ankle, down and back. 8, open, ankle, down and back. 9, open, ankle, down and back. Last one. And that's 10. Hopefully you noticed that it was a little bit rough when you were first starting on this hip, and by the time we got to number 10, you're moving a little bit smoother, you're getting a little bit deeper into that range of motion we're trying to tap into. The hip cars are all about getting a little bit stronger while we get mobile, and that's what happens when we're controlling that end range of motion. We're really working on rotating and lifting each of those positions. Cool. Hope you had a nice 3-second break. Let's get into the other side. Let's go. High knee. Open up that hip. Rotate the leg to get the ankle horizontal first. Bring the leg down and back. Flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes. Really pull that hip back. Feel that stretch here. That's 1 rep. We're going to do 10 in total. High knee. Open. Ankle up. Down and back. That's 2. Open, ankle up, down and back. 3, open, ankle, down and back. 4, open, ankle, down and back. 5, open, ankle, down and back. 6, open, ankle, down and back. 7, open, ankle, down and back. 8, open, ankle, down and back. 9, open, ankle up, down and back. Last one. 10, open, ankle up, down and back. And that is hip cars going forward. Now we're going to switch it up and do hip cars going backwards. We're going to hit the same main positions, but the order is a little bit differently, and I'll call it out as we go. So just follow along and let's do it. If you're just joining in, we're doing 45 to 60-ish minutes of live side split stretching, hip mobility work, and we do this every single day to practice consistency. This should be 9 a.m. Eastern, and we do a special weekend show at 9 a.m. every single Saturday and Sunday, but the regular time is 9 p.m. Eastern the rest of the week and every day. Cool. All right. Let's go backwards. We're going to start by bring that leg down and back. Flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes. Really pull that leg behind you. Feel the stretch in the front of your hip. We're going to lift the leg directly to the side. We're going to try our best to lift it high. Breathe. We're going to lift that ankle even further. Then bring it all the way down. And then we're going to bring the knee all the way forward. All right? Let's do that again. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down, knee. That's 2. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down, knee. That's 3. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down. 4. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down. 5. We're halfway there. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down. 6. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down. 8. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down. 9? Did we already get to 9? Ankle up, ankle down. 10. That's 10. That's 10 hip cars on the left leg going backwards. Let's finish up with the last side, the last leg. I don't know if I had just like a momentary brain fart because I was daydreaming, but it seems crazy that we suddenly jumped. I feel like last number I said was 5, and then I suddenly thought we're at 8, 9. Okay. Whew. One last leg. Let's do it. Bring that leg back. Flex the hamstrings, flex the glutes. Lift directly up to the side. Rotate. Bring that ankle up high. Bring the ankle all the way back down. And bring the knee forward. That's 1. Let's go. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down, knee. That's 2. Back, side, ankle up, ankle down, knee. If you didn't recognize the pattern, or if you're just joining in, we're just doing 10, 4, 5, 6, 7, back, side, ankle up, ankle down, 8, back, side, ankle up, ankle down, 9, back, side, ankle up, ankle down, 10. Those are the hip cars. Again, these are all about moving your hips through their maximum range of motion using your own muscle power so that you're getting stronger and more mobile at the same time. I see a lot of comments coming in on YouTube, so I'm going to cop a look real quick. Does this make you hungry? How long before you eat? I don't know. Does it make me hungry? After life, usually I'm pretty hungry, but I usually also skip breakfast. So I would have been hungry anyway. Mira Moha says, "Oh my God, I just found you. Welcome. Azia says 9 months. What am I missing? 9 months. Somebody pregnant? I am 9 months. Post hip replacement. Can I do these? Honestly, I don't know. I have no idea what hip replacement actually looks like. I would imagine that you need to start slow and take it easy and figure out what you're able to do without pain. And you should probably consult with your doctor to ask about what ranges of motion are supposed to be accessible with the joint. And then you can figure out what your muscles are capable of actually doing. You might be able to do much more than a doctor would tell you. Maybe they'll give you something that's not so optimistic and hopeful, because most people probably won't put in the work to do it. So they'll give you what most people are able to do. And that is entirely up to you how much effort you're willing to put into it and figure out. So that's it. All right, scrolling down. Oh, okay, thank you. I've been going slow and trying to find comfort. My doctor says do what feels comfortable. All right, well, if you're feeling comfortable, then you should definitely try it out. And you can break down each of the movement pieces of the hip cars that we were just doing into small pieces, right? The first one is lifting your knee as high as possible. The second one is opening up the hip as wide as possible. If those feel good, they feel fine, you're doing great. The one that tends to be really hard for most people is once you've got it open, trying to rotate in that hip to bring the ankle. Getting it to horizontal is a great starting point. For a long time, all I did was get to horizontal. In the last couple of months, I think we've been really focusing on bringing the knee down and lifting the ankle up to get a little bit more out of that hip. If you feel like that is something you can do, add it in. And then finally, the last part is once you're here, bringing the leg and scooping over to the back in this hip extension position where you're trying to pull the leg back. That gets a lot more challenging because a lot more muscles that tend to be weak for most people are working really hard to pull the leg. And this thing over here, your hip flexors, tend to be really good at being in a seated position all day, so they tend to be really tight. So working on this position tends to be a little bit harder for most people, and give it a try. If it feels okay, if it feels comfortable, keep on following along. We do 10 reps on each side, back and forth every single day. Cool? All right, we're gonna move on into our second warm-up exercise, and that is the elephant walk. The hip cars usually are super intense, so I try to get into this nice and slow, but I did do a little segue there into hip health. So if you're already feeling quite relaxed and quite recovered from the hip cars, then great, you got even more time to chill out. We're folding forward, trying to bring the belly button down towards the ground, and we're just gonna chill, hang out for a little bit. You don't need to focus on being super explosive and pushing all the way down as fast as possible. Just let your body relax. And after a couple of seconds, I want you to focus on bringing the belly button down a little bit more. Most of your body can relax, but keep on trying to bring the belly button down just a little bit more. And once you've done that for a bit, you might find you're a little bit lower to the ground, you're a little bit more folded, and your muscles are a little bit more relaxed than the first time you got into this folded position, right? From here, we're gonna start bending one knee at a time. Right now, my left knee is bent. I'm gonna keep on trying to bring the belly button down to the ground. This is the actual elephant walk process of the elephant walk movements. And we are switching from side to side, bending one knee at a time. When you do this, I want you to keep focusing on keeping that belly button low to the ground, all right? And you'll start feeling a whole bunch of weirdness in your hamstrings. Maybe you'll feel it in the middle of the hamstring. Maybe you'll feel it where the tendon connects into your pelvis, so it might feel like just underneath your butt. You might feel some tingliness in your calves and in your toes, where your nerves are sliding around in your toes. Those are all pretty normal sensations to be having. So, as long as you're being gentle, you're not pushing really hard and aggressively, keep going. Whew. Keep on going. We do a lot of time in the elephant walk because for hip mobility, we got a lot of stuff coming up that requires the hamstrings to be nice and warmed up. And this is the warm up. This is that hamstring preparation. Okay, 3 more seconds. Then we'll come up out of this and move on to something new. Whew. Come on up into standing. If it's really tiring, really exhausting, you can take your time. Come back into standing. Whew. If you've been bent over for a long time and you feel like your blood was pooling in your head, standing up quickly might make you a little bit lightheaded. If you're in that situation, take a breath, chill. This is just the warm-up. You don't have to take it super intense. From here, we're gonna get right back into that same position we were just in. We're gonna fold forward. We're gonna bend the left knee. We're gonna reach that left hand across to the right leg. This right leg is straight. We're gonna do some thoracic rotation. That is just fancy for we're going to rotate the spine. So rotate your chest to the right, push against your leg with your left hand to help you with that. Extend your right hand up into the air, rotate your neck, look at those fingers, and breathe and chill. I might talk very fast, but the movement should not be fast. It should not be explosive. It should be smooth and gentle. All right. Other side. Right knee is bent. Right hand is reaching across to the left leg, pushing against the left leg to help rotate the chest to the left. Extend the left arm up into the air. Reach behind you. And once you've gotten as far as you feel like you can get, I want you to try to do an inhale and then an exhale. See if on the exhale you can reach just a little bit further into the stretch. That is 1 rep. We did 1 on the right and 1 on the left. We're going to do 5 in total, so we're going to do 4 more. Let's go. Reach your hand across to the straightened leg. Rotate the chest. Extend the arm. Look at the fingers. Reach to the side and come back down. You might notice one side might be a little bit more flexible than the other side. That is normal. You might notice that it's hard to breathe when you are folded and rotated all the way over to the other side, because I just gave you that tip about inhaling and exhaling to help deepen that stretch. Take your time, experiment. And come on back down. I can't remember how many we've done, but I think this is the last of number 3. So we got 2 more. Reach and reach. That's 4. Last one. Reach and reach. Okay. Those are some thoracic rotations. That is basically fancy for middle of your spine, getting some rotations done. I hope your back is feeling a little bit more limber, a little bit more mobile, and maybe your shoulder blades, your shoulders are a little bit more tired than you expected from just reaching over. I hope your body's feeling a little bit more warmed up, because that is all we do for the back and all we do for the arms and shoulders. We're going to move on into the third warm-up exercise. Is called the Cossack switch. I'm going to demonstrate what it looks like real quick, and then we'll break it down into smaller, easier bits to work on. Cossack switch generally looks something like this. We're squatting down onto one side, getting really compact and squished to get as low as we can. On the other leg, the heel is down, the toes are up, and the knees are pointing up. From this position, we try to keep our hips really low as we scoot over to the other side, and both heels are down once again. And then we go back. That is 1 rep. 1 rep. Once to the left and once to the right. But it is a really hard position to get into right away. So let's talk about breaking it down into some easier pieces. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to recognize that this position where our leg is extended is basically a deep squat with a leg all the way over there. So I want you to first try and get into something that resembles a really deep squat. And I want you to almost hug your knees to your chest to help pre-stretch your body and get it ready to be compact, to be squished down, so that we can work on those Cossack switches a little bit more easily. All right. While you are in this position, you might notice my heels are coming up. I can sit back and hang out like this, but a lot of us are not going to be able to do that. So if you are struggling to get compact, you're struggling to get tight, it's totally okay to have your heels off the ground, for you to lean a little bit forward so that you can really get compact and squish together. You'll still be feeling an Achilles tendon stretch, and you'll still be getting a calf stretch. So it doesn't matter if your heels are down or up at this moment. Later, when we're doing the actual Cossack switch, I want you to keep your heels down, because it will help you balance and stay more stable. Whew. All right. We've hung out here for a little bit. Hopefully, you'll find that your hips are a little bit more mobile now that we've tried to squish down intentionally. And let's get into some basic positions. If you can, I want you to keep the heel down, and I want you to keep this heel down. A lot of us are going to struggle because we can't sit quite far back enough, and that might mean you might have to be in a position that looks like this, where you're doing a little bit of a half squat. The main con of this is your quads are firing really hard and they're trying to keep you upright, and it's going to be really challenging. So you can always pause and stand up straight a little bit, straighten out the legs while I talk about things that you might not need to do just yet. Like this. We're going to scoot our butts over in a whole bunch of different ways. You don't have to do this yet. You can just stand, or you can keep on squishing and staying compact. We're going to put our hands down. We're going to scoot our butts over and try to hang out for a second on the end here. You can keep your hands down the whole time. And come back over. Again, hands down, help you balance. Hands down, help you reduce the amount of strength you need in your legs. Once you got that down, you can remove your hands and keep going. You can stand up a little bit straighter, extend your arms, and keep going. And if your knees are starting to ache, they're a little bit uncomfortable, you can kind of come up to a half squat, a quarter squat, come across first, and then sink down to get into that deep stretched position down there. All right? Those are your variations. I'm going to jump and cycle through them as we go. Pick whichever ones you like, experiment with all of them. Let's do 10. We're sitting back onto the heel. This heel is pointing, or this heel is down on the ground and the toes are pointing up. Put your hands down, scoot your butt over to the other side. Heels are down, scoot your butt back over to the other side. That's 1, and that's 2. This is 2.5, and 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, if your knees are starting to get uncomfortable, you can come up into a quarter squat, come across, and then slowly sink into that bottom position. This is 9. Last one, we're almost done. Across, sit down, across, sit down. That is 10 Cossack switches. Whew. That is the end of our warm-up. If you're getting nervous because you're like, whoa, that was the warm-up, we're only just starting, don't worry. The show is about hip mobility and stretching. So the warm-up was to get our blood pumping, to get our muscles ready for some flexibility and some stretching. We're doing 30 seconds worth of static stretch, and we're going to do 5 stretches. There are a bunch that are one leg at a time, so it'll be more than 5 seconds or 5 sets of 30 seconds. And we wrap up with the side splits at the end. We do 3 rounds of 30 seconds. Now that we finished the warm-up, go ahead, grab a sip of water. And while you're grabbing that sip of water, grab a cushion. We're going to do a hamstring stretch next. And the way I'd like to do it looks a little bit like this. We are dropping one knee down to the ground. We are widening our stance just a little bit for balance, and we are folding our belly button to our leg like so. So grab a cushion, grab a couch pillow, grab an old towel that needs to be washed. You can just roll it up, stick it on your knee. You don't got to feel bad about getting it dirty because it's already dirty. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to scroll through the chat real quick just to see what is going on. I see a bunch of big messages. Tommy asks where I'm from. Yo, man, are you Malaysian? No, I am not Malaysian. And yes, I am from the US. Thank you, Queen RR, for typing that out. If you have no idea what chat I'm referring to, this is happening on YouTube. I do a multi-live between YouTube and TikTok. Mitchell just asked or said, I didn't know you did morning lives too. The morning lives only happen on the weekends, on Saturday and Sundays. So that's why you didn't know. It's not every single day. I do not do lymph massagers. And what can I do for big toe tightness? I think the big toe is, and we'll get right back into the stretches in a sec. I think the big toe is something that you can work on a lot easier than a lot of other pieces of your body because you got a whole entire foot attached to it. So you should be able to very manually force your foot to go into lots of different positions. If you elevate your heel, you can forcefully cause your toe to bend, I guess, forward. All right. And the alternative is if you force your foot forward, you can bring that toe back. What other important things are important for a toe? If you have zero range of motion, I guess it would be unreasonable to expect you to be able to pinch things and grab things and hold things and lift things with your feet. But your toes should be plenty strong, or can be trained to be plenty strong to do things like, I don't know, that. How do you train that exactly? Honestly, I don't know. I don't know that I've done any training for my big toe specifically on purpose, but there are a couple of things that you can try real quick. For example, you can try to clench your toes together, like you're making a fist with your hands, but with your toes. And if you get strong enough, you'll be able to pull your whole body kind of forward. What else do toes do? I think if you try really hard, you can spread the toes. And that's really helpful actually for balance and for sports where you have to put a lot of power into that back foot and pivot on the ball of the foot. Having a strong big toe helps you create a lot of power. I think that's all I got. We're going to move on into these stretches. The first stretch that we're going to do, like I said earlier, is the hamstring stretch. And the way we're going to set it up looks a little bit like this. We're going to, if you have a big enough cushion, drop down on both knees. If you don't, you can drop down on one knee. I want your shoulders pointed forward, your hips pointed forward, and I want you to extend that leg forward as well. If you realize you're immediately off balance and you're struggling a little bit, you can widen the stance just a little bit. That's totally fine. From here, we're going to focus on bringing the belly button, this right here, down towards the ground. And we're going to try our best to breathe the whole time. Don't hold your breath. I'm going to spin around. You don't have to do anything because I can't see your position anyway, but hopefully with me spun around, you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little bit better. From here, we're going to take a nice big inhale and we're going to slowly exhale. While we're exhaling, I want you to fold forward and try to get a little bit deeper into the stretch. All right? Ready? Inhale. Inhale. Exhale and fold. Your hamstrings should be struggling and crying a little bit. Your calves might be feeling quite tight at the moment. And you might be tempted to also be rounding your head and bring your shoulders and your chest down. The first two are fine. That's normal. But I don't want you to do the third, which is to round your head and your neck and bring everything down, is because all of the stretch is coming from the angle of your hips. Bring your chest down, bring your head down doesn't really add that much to it, but it does put a lot of pressure on the joints in your back, and it's unnecessary. So don't do that. Cool? Try to keep the back relatively straight. Whew. All right, we're going to do one more inhale, exhale, and then we're going to start at 30 seconds. Inhale. Exhale and fold. And your leg muscles are probably feeling even more tight and intense now, but we're ready to start. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20. Remember, we're trying to bring the belly button down to the thigh. That is where the stretch magic is happening. 18. 17, 16, 15, 14. Don't hold your breath. Keep on breathing. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, come on out of that stretch. If your hamstrings are feeling really uncomfortable, it should be pretty normal. So don't worry about it. If there's a sharp pain, something feels deeply wrong, that's something to be concerned about. If it's just uncomfortable and that pain has basically gone away since we came out of the stretch in that last 5, 7, 8 seconds, then you're probably fine, and that's just a normal stretch. Cool? Let's go. Switch to the other side. Remember, you can widen the stance for balance if you need it. And since we talked about everything, let's go right into the inhale, exhale, and fold. Inhale, slow exhale, and fold. Try to bring the belly button down to the thigh. Since we stretched one leg at a time, you might notice that one leg has way more flexibility than the other. That is pretty normal. So don't worry too much about it, but do aim to get a little bit more symmetry. And that symmetry only comes with time. All right. One more inhale, exhale. Let's go. Inhale. Exhale and fold. You should be feeling a whole bunch of tightness in your hamstrings, but you might also feel it here in the pelvis where your hamstrings become tendons and the tendons actually lock into your bones. Cool. That's it. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17. Remember, we're breathing, not holding our breath. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. That is our hamstring stretch. We do, for the most part, 30 seconds of static stretching. It's just a hold where we try to get a little bit deeper into the stretch throughout the stretch. Come on up into standing, shake out your legs. If your ankles are feeling a little tight, if your calves were feeling a little bit tingly, your hamstrings need a little bit of relaxation, shake out your legs, flop around real quick, and let's get into stretch number 2. Second stretch that we're going to do is called the butterfly stretch. In some countries, it's called the tailor's pose. Why it's called the tailor's pose? I've never really thought about that until I asked myself that question just now. Come over to a wall. We're going to lean back against the wall to keep our backs supported, and it's going to help you focus on the actual parts of the stretch that we care about. Bring your feet, together and pull your feet in towards your groin, and your knees will pop right up. If you're leaning against the wall, your back, the mid-back, should be feeling a little bit of pressure because you're leaning against the wall. And this is important because typically, if you have bad hamstring flexibility, bad hip mobility, you're going to want to fall backwards in this position. And it's going to be really hard to focus on opening up your hips and working on this stretch if you're also starting to fall backwards. That's why the wall is so important. From here, I want you to work on your strengthening at all times. And what that means here is I want you to use your outer thigh muscles and your glutes to help open up your legs. Bring your knees down into the ground. If you're joining in for the first time, you have no idea how to control that, and you're not quite sure, just take a look at your knee. If you're flexing some muscles and your knee is getting closer to the ground, that's a win. If you're flexing some muscles and your knees are coming up or not going anywhere, you've either reached the maximum that you can reach at the moment, or you're not using the right muscles. So experiment, and over time, you'll figure it out. From here, we're taking our hands, we're applying some pressure onto the thighs. And as we push into our legs, you might feel pressure in the back of your head, in the upper shoulders. That is the wall keeping us from falling backwards when we're pushing our legs down. And that helps you to put all of your energy into pushing your legs into a deeper stretch. That is everything you need to know. We're ready to start. I'm going to scoot over to a different position so that I can actually get into a stretch and not slam my knees into the wall. I hope you're ready because we're starting. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22. Same thing. Don't forget to breathe. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Wow, come on out of that stretch. You can let the hands go first. You might notice that if you've been really contracting your leg muscles, trying to bring your knees to the ground, your legs are feeling a little stuck right now. That is pretty normal, so don't worry. You can start getting out of that position by just lifting your knee with your arms, with your hands, and giving them a little shake. That should wake them up and get them to start flapping the wings of the butterfly again and help you get back into a standing position. We're going to move right on into our third stretch. It is called the standing pancake. And it looks a little bit like this. We're going to bring the legs apart. The hips should not be uncomfortable. So if you're already super deep and your hips are starting to hurt, bring your legs back in and together. The goal of this stretch is actually to fold forward at the hips. And your belly button should be pointing down at the ground. All right? This is the starting position. If it looks like I'm just trying to touch my toes, that is absolutely right. That is the starting position for the standing pancake. From the side, it looks a little bit like this. The goal of the pancake is actually to fold really far forward and bring your belly button to the ground, or in between your legs, essentially. And I am not that good at them, so I'll give a slight demonstration. It looks a little bit closer to that. Oh, and it is a really hard stretch. You can take it to like 10,000 more levels of advancedness and more flexibility. But for now, we're doing the standing pancake because most people are going to be struggling with this stretch quite a bit. And in the standing pancake variation, you got extra force, you got extra assistance from gravity. When you're folded forward like this, gravity's pulling your head, pulling your chest, pulling your belly button down towards the ground. And that helps you get into a deeper stretch. All right. From this position, when your head is pointed in the same direction as your toes and your hips are also pointed in the same direction as your head and toes, you should be able to get into a very deep, wide leg position without pain. This position is basically what we need to get into in order to do side splits. So from here, you can choose how wide you want to open up your legs and get into this pancake. And part 2, the only other thing you got to choose from is how you want to fold forward. If you want gravity to do all the work, you can extend your arms out ahead of you. You can not do that, and you can just focus on bringing your belly button down to the ground. Alternatively, you can grab your legs and you can help pull yourself down into the ground. Pulling yourself tends to be way more painful, so pick your poison and let's go. If you feel like you're leaning too far forward and your face is about to smash into the ground, you can kind of stick your butt back behind you to help counterbalance your weight. And now I've actually talked about everything we can talk about. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Remember to breathe. Don't hold your breath. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, put your hands down. Come on out of that stretch. If you are stuck and you can't move right now, that is pretty normal because it's a really intense stretch. You can try to walk your toes and your heels and your toes and your heels in until you get into a more stable position to get out of that standing pancake. The standing pancake is really hard, and it has some pros and it's got some cons. The pros are when you're in this deep open leg position, these muscles, your adductors, are stretched out. They're trying to get deeper into that side split, and they're getting the stretch, but at the same time, they have to hold up your whole entire body weight. So they're contracting really hard to keep you stuck in whatever position that you are hanging out at. The con of that is it's incredibly tiring and hard to hang out in that position. The pro is you're actually training the muscles and you're getting stronger in that position. So over time, over the course of lots of these workouts, you'll get really comfortable getting into these positions and holding them and getting stronger. If you're struggling right now to hold it for 30 seconds, you can always reduce the depth, reduce the intensity of how wide you're bringing your legs. Cool? The other place you're probably feeling a ton of crazy stretch is your hamstrings. Your hamstring muscles connect basically right below your knee and right behind your knee to the bottom of your pelvis. Your sits bones, the bony part of your butt when you sit down, is basically where the tendons for your hamstrings connect into your hip. And when you're standing, the bottom of your hip is like here, right? It's like middle of your thigh. But when you're folding forward, the bottom of your hip is going up, 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 up. And you've gone from mid-thigh to like way up here where your butt is, right? That doesn't matter if your feet are together, if your feet are apart, as long as your hips are folding forward, your hamstrings are getting stretched. They're going to be really unhappy with you, and it's going to be uncomfortable. So now you understand why we did the hamstring stretch and we spent so much time in the elephant walk. It is because standing pancake is really hard, and we're just trying to prepare ourselves for this thing right here. Okay, that long anatomy lesson was intended to help us relax and recover from the standing pancake. If you still need to, shake out those legs, give it a little bit of a wiggle, and we're going to get on into something a little bit easier. Stretch number 4 is either the pigeon or the figure 4. I can't remember what we just did. We usually just explain one or the other, and I can't remember what the most recent show was. I think it was the figure 4. So let's do some pigeon. The pigeon looks basically like this, and the figure 4 is going to look the same. We're going to bring the leg across the body. We're going to go grab that leg. We're going to bring it up, and we're going to fold our belly button down towards that leg. We're going to feel the stretch here in the side of the hip, in the side of the glute. And to get into the butterfly position, we're basically taking that same folded forward position and sitting our butts down on the ground. This back leg, I'm going to spin around so you can see what this back leg is doing, can just be bent right alongside you. For our purposes, it's not incredibly important if your leg is extended behind you or if it's just chilling off to the side. So if you can't get into this version of the pigeon stretch, that is absolutely okay. On the other hand, you also don't need to be in this position of the pigeon stretch all that often for our purposes. All right. So if you can stay low to the ground and kind of crawl yourself into a pigeon position like this, we're mostly focused on the stretch in the other hip. So go ahead, experiment and see if that makes sense or if that works. Alternatively, if you can't figure out what I'm talking about, you can elevate your front leg. All right. Actually, I have yoga blocks right here. If you have something to help elevate the hip, it could be a stool, it could be a chair. As long as it's sturdy, as long as it's stable, you can elevate that front leg, the one that's bent. And when you do that, there should be a little bit of space under your hips, right? When you create that space, the back leg has a little bit more wiggle room to hang out, and it'll be easier to extend the leg behind you and start feeling that stretch in the front of this hip. That is basically all the information I got for the pigeon. Let's get into it and crush some stretches. Leg is across the body. We're folding the midpoint of our chest to the midpoint of the leg. Set up however you need to be happy about what your leg is doing in the back here. And we're going to keep our hips low and we're going to fold forward. That's it. That's the pigeon. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. You should be feeling this in the side of your hip, in the side of your glute almost, of the leg that's bent and, across your chest. If you're not feeling it, try to push your ankles further away from your hips. Basically, push your feet towards your face, or move your chest closer to your feet. Both should make that stretch way more intense. I can't remember what I started counting to or if I started counting at all. Man, that's bad. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. I got distracted. I was like, hey, I'm not feeling the stretch. I should probably talk about this. Then completely forgot what we counted to. All right, let's switch to the other side and continue. Again, we're bringing the leg across the body. We're keeping the hips low to the ground, extending the leg behind us if you can. And we're folding and bringing the belly button down. To make it harder, you can push the feet towards your face and you can angle your body towards your foot. Both will make it harder. Experiment, try it out. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28. Also, you don't need to make it any harder if it's already a lot of suffering. So, those are all just bonus tips. 25, 24, 23. Remember to breathe. Don't hold your breath. 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, we're almost done. 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, come on out of that stretch. If you want, you can come back into standing and chill, but I got lots of stuff to talk about, so you don't have to come out. You can hang out in the pigeon for longer if you'd like. I just have to go talk about other things. We just did 4 of our 5 stretches. We're basically most of the way through the live. If you have no idea what we've been doing or what this whole thing is about, we're doing 45 to 60-ish minutes of live side split stretching and hip mobility. We do this every single day to practice consistency, to build a little bit of community. I try to bring good vibes to the internet. I hope you bring good vibes into the chat because we want to make it easier, more fun, more enjoyable to practice consistency, to suffer on the floor and work on our stretches and work on our exercises together. Because the goal, is to make a whole bunch of progress in better movement, better hip mobility, better side splits, and hopefully this live helps you do it. If that's interesting, if you've liked this so far, make sure to hit follow, hit subscribe, keep coming back. We are live at 9 p.m. Eastern every single day, 7 days a week. And on weekends, like right now, we do a bonus live at 9 a.m. Saturday, Sunday, 9 a.m., Monday through Sunday, every day of the week, 9 p.m. Cool? Whew, man, that spiel is getting longer and longer. All right, let's get into some side splits. Let's talk about safety in the side splits first. The first thing I want you to do, especially if your first couple of times getting into live, is to make sure you're feeling safe, you're feeling comfortable, you're feeling secure. And you might need to put pillows down all over the place. You might need to have a stool, a chair right in front of you to help you stay balanced when you're in weird positions. Grab those things, make yourself comfortable. The reason why I'm saying that is because stretching is a lot of controlling tension. Controlling tension means that there's a portion that's kind of conscious and there's a portion that's subconscious, right? We talk about breathing into a bag to help you from hyperventilating and doing things that your lungs want to. Okay, this is a bad example. We're going to start over. If you walk down a sketchy dark alley, all of a sudden you're a little bit nervous, you're a little bit tense, your heart rate starts picking up, and you're getting a little bit nervous. That tension is basically the same type of tension that you're going to be feeling if you're feeling like this stretch position is not bueno. It's a little scary. You might fall. You might hurt yourself. If you're worried about stuff, your body will tighten up and be a little bit nervous, a little bit on edge, a little bit scared, and all of those emotions don't actually help you stretch. So get stuff, help you feel safe, protect yourself. Additionally, the thing I wanted to talk about to begin with is use a wall. All right, over here, I got a wall. My camera doesn't have a good angle for making this wall visible. So That's why I don't use it, but I recommend that you have a wall about 8 to 12 inches behind you. And that's because when we get into a deep split looking position, if you are trying to figure out a new position, you're just adjusting, you're tweaking, you're like, oh, just a little deeper, you might get into a situation where you lose balance and you start falling backwards. You're like, whoa, ooh. If you have a wall right behind you, then your shoulder will smash into the wall. Maybe your mid-back will smash into the wall. Maybe your butt will smash into the wall. Either way, as long as your butt is not falling 3 feet into the ground and making it very, 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 very unhappy, that is a win. So stand pretty close to something that you can fall back into, and that will help keep the fear of falling far, far away. Cool. I'm going to use this table. It's got kind of a sharp edge, and it's not exactly heavy or sturdy, but it is leaning against the wall, so at least if I fall backwards, it's not going anywhere-ish. That was a really long segue to find some way to make yourself feel a little bit safer. Okay, let's get into some side splits. We're going to open up the legs nice and wide, and I don't want your hips to hurt. If they are uncomfortable, if you're already feeling something a little bit weird, naggy, come back, bring your legs together, and chill. It's not super important right at the very beginning. We're going to fold forward. Going to bring the belly button pointed down towards the ground, and once you're folded forward like this, where the tops of your hips are pointing that way, your head is pointed that way, your toes are pointed that way, your hips are in line so that you can open up those legs and get into that deeper position without your hips hurting. If you were just in a position where you're like, oh, wow, my legs hurt when I bring them out this wide in this variation, ask yourself if it still hurts as much or if it hurts at all, like before. Okay, we'll talk about why that is in just a second. From here, we're going to put our hands down, and I want you to try to do something that looks a little bit like a push-up. We're not doing it because we're trying to build up our triceps. We're doing this because we're trying to shift weight into our arms and reduce the weight in our legs so that it's a little bit easier to externally rotate them. What is external rotation? It is when your heels are down, your toes are up, and your knees are pointing up. Heels are down, toes are up, knees are pointing up. We're doing this on both sides. What this enables us to do is it rotates our thigh bone out of the way so it does not smash into our hip bones. I kept on talking earlier about if your head and your toes are pointing in the same direction, then you're good. In this case, we're basically just maintaining that position. Right now, the toes are pointing up. Right now, my head and my hips are pointing straight up. We're just maintaining that same exact position that you're in over here and shifting and rotating 90 degrees backwards. I don't know if that explanation made any sense or if the math was clear, but now we're in position. Now we're sitting in the side splits, and all we got left is to do a little wiggle from side to side to see if you can get a little bit deeper by breaking the friction holding your feet back. And 30 seconds, let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12. Remember to breathe. Don't hold your breath. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, walk your hands forward, crawl out of that position, bring your legs in underneath you. Try not to have a whole bunch of weight on the knee that you're already pulling in. That sentence was kind of difficult to comprehend. If you're pulling your leg in like this, try not to have all of your weight in that leg while you're also pulling it in, because that puts a lot of pressure on your knees. From here, we're going to just rest, take a little bit of a break. That was the first of our 3 side splits. I did a lot of explaining on that first one because there's a lot of people on right now that are probably brand new. But for the next 2, there's going to be way less explaining. We're going to get much smoother into the side splits. All right. What we just did was put a whole bunch of tension into our hips, into our legs, and now we want to undo that tension. We want to relax as much as we can so that we can get into the second side split with as little extra tension as possible. And if you haven't already, come back into standing so we can start shaking it out. What I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you are just getting out of a swimming pool, out of a pond or something, and your legs are wet, and you're trying to shake the water off of your legs. And I want you to just flick your legs out like this. You can combine it with flicking your hands out, although your hands didn't do that much work, so it's not as important for your hands. As you get more comfortable with this, I want you to pick up the intensity. You can drop the knee a little bit lower down, and I want you to flop. I want that ankle going all sorts of crazy places. I want your calves to be flopping all over the place, and I want your legs to relax. This is going to look a little silly, it's going to look a little crazy, but I promise if your muscles were still super tense, you would move and look like a weird robot, right? Your legs would not be flopping and flying all over the place. As you get more comfortable with this, I want you to switch over to the other side and give your other leg a little bit of a break as well. Flick, 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 and then wiggle, 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 shake it out, flop your legs around. So far, we've been mostly focusing on having this sort of motion from that knee joint. I want you to try your best to add in something that looks like this, where your knee is rotating in and out and in and out. Notice how the rest of my body is not moving. My toe is down and it's just a pivot point. There's no weight on this leg, and all that I'm doing is using the muscles in the hip to bring the knee in and out and in and out. What we're doing here is trying to get some of the muscles in our hip area to relax a little bit with a little bit of movement. And if you get a little bit more skilled at this, you can start using the same muscles without your leg down, and you can incorporate it into how you shake out your leg. All right, now your legs are really looking like jello and flopping around and going all over the place. Do the same thing with the other leg. We're gonna do it together to relax the hip, and then you can add it in however you want with your shake. All right, again, all of the weight is in the other leg. This hip, this leg is the only thing that's moving. Everything else is locked in place. And we are just moving a little bit, gentle movement to release and relax the muscles in the hip. If you want, you can incorporate it now into that leg shake. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out, flop around. And as you get more skilled at this, you'll be able to notice that your quads can start flopping around all over the place. All right, that's how you know it's working, when all of your muscles are just going all over the place, flopping around. All right, and that is how we're cooling off and how we are relaxing our muscles in between each of the side splits. Let's get into round two. Stand 8 to 12 inches in front of whatever you're going to potentially fall back into to help keep you safe. Fingers crossed you don't fall backwards, but if you do, we want something there to keep you safe. Again, I recommend having the wall. We're going to open up the legs, however wide is comfortable. If it's already uncomfortable, bring the legs in just a little bit. We're going to fold forward at the hips. We're going to point the belly button directly into the ground, and this is our starting position. We're going to put our hands down and take this opportunity to get into a deeper stretch. From here, we're going to try and do something that looks a little bit like a push-up, because we want to make sure that our body weight is in our arms to take some of the weight from our legs. When the weight is not in our legs, it makes it easier to externally rotate, which means your heels are down, your toes are up, your knees are pointing up on both sides. Again, heels are down, toes are up, knees are pointing up. This is the most important detail in the whole entire thing, so make sure you're rotating your legs. All right, from here, we're gonna walk the hands back, put that weight that we shifted forward right back into our legs. It's time to let them suffer, and once you are seated mostly upright, take a couple of quick breaths and then add in a little wiggle from side to side. Break the friction holding your feet back, and we are in position. Let's go. 30 seconds. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. You can add in a little wiggle at any time if you feel like you can get a little bit deeper into the stretch. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, crawl forward. Bring your legs in. And relax. Rest. If your hips are feeling really tense, really tight, you can give yourself a light massage. When you're feeling a little bit more recovered from the side split, come back into standing. We're going to shake it out. Same thing as last time. You've got all the pieces. We're going to recover, or we're going to recap those pieces and talk about them again, but you can do whatever you want now. Shake the legs out. Flick, 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 flick. As you get more comfortable with that, let your ankles flop. Let the calf muscles go all over the place. Add a little bit of rotation. And shake it out. Let the legs relax. We want to be like noodles fresh from the pot. Just floppy and soft. And make sure to do the other leg. Shake, 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 shake. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Flop, 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 flop. If your hips are still feeling tight and you need to give them a light massage, go for it. If you want, you can add in that hip rotation again to be very precise with letting those muscles move a little bit and relax a little bit. And with that, we're ready for side split number 3, I think. Let's go. Stand 8 to 12 inches in front of whatever you're prepared to fall back into. And let's go. Open up the legs decently wide. Breathe. Again, make sure your hips don't already hurt. They should not hurt. Fold forward. Bring the belly button down towards the ground. Put your hands down. With your hands down, your head pointed that way, your hips pointed that way, your toes pointed that way. You can open up the legs and get into your deeper split-looking positions immediately. From here, we're externally rotating the legs, which means your heels are down, your toes are up, your knees are pointing up. And sit back into that stretch. Walk your hands back. Do a little wiggle. Do a little dance. Get deeper into the stretch. And 30 seconds. Let's go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24. Once you get a little bit more comfortable in this position, there are some details you should know. When your belly button is facing towards the ground and you're feeling the pressure on the inside of your thighs, this is basically focusing the stretch on your side splits. If you are sitting a little bit further back and you're perfectly straight up and down, this is often called a straddle, and you're going to feel it a little bit more in your hamstrings. If you kind of go somewhere in the middle and then you focus on folding forward, you're actually getting right back into a pancake. And I think with all that explanation, we've probably got no time left. 30 seconds is over. 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. Walk your hands forward. Bring your legs in. Come back into that kneeling position. Rest for a hot second or 2 or 3 or as long as you want. We have basically finished all the stretching. Right now, all we got left is to shake out our muscles, help them relax, help you recover from our workout so they can go back to doing whatever else you got to do today and enjoy your day. All right? Let's come back into standing and let's shake it out. Ooh. Ready? Flicking water off of our feet. If you prefer, you can flick water into the eyes of your enemies. That whatever floats your boat, that's cool with me. Once you're more comfortable with that shaking motion, you can drop the knee lower to the ground. Just shake, wiggle, flop. Let the leg muscles relax. Get the ankles to spin around, go crazy places. Have the calves just flop. add in a little bit of rotation at the hip, have your quads sort of flop around, go all over the place, and that will help loosen up your hips a little bit. Do the same thing on the other side. Shake out the legs, shake them out, shake, 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 shake. 5 to 10 seconds mostly is enough to have your legs relax. If you feel like you need more, you'll know you need more. You'll just take a step, you're like, no, I want more. And you can go back to do more. But as a general baseline, 5 to 10 seconds is plenty. Now, we've done the casual leg relaxing. I want you to do some advanced leg hip stuff, all right? So we're gonna pop into something that looks a little bit like 20% of a squat. And from here, I want you to do the same thing that we basically did to get the knees to go in and out, but with a little bit more intention. Now, instead of just wiggling, I want you to really try to bring your knee all the way in, internal rotation, and then all the way out, external rotation. In, out. Notice nothing else in the body is moving. All of the movement is coming from this thigh bone where it connects to my hip. All right? If this is a little too intense for you, you can bring the legs in closer to each other, and that puts way less pressure on this leg and makes it a lot easier. Just do a couple of these. 3, 4, 5 is more than enough. We're gonna do the other side. Again, if you're going really wide, it's gonna be more intense. If you bring your legs together, it will be way less intense. Everything else in the body is staying still. The only thing that's moving is that knee is shifting in and out. Technically, the knee is also not bending more or less. It's just the leg rotating in that hip socket. All right, whew. That is plenty. We're gonna wrap up with a couple of joint checks. This is the last thing, I promise. We're gonna start with some hip circles. And I know that those hip muscles that I keep complaining about, that I keep on doing the leg rotations for, really enjoy it when I hang out in this position and I give them a little bit of a stretch. If you have the same thing, give your hips a little bit of a stretch, give them some love, and maybe in the rest of the rotation you'll find, oh, your hamstrings are really tight and need a little bit of attention too. That is what the hip circles are for. And if everything is feeling more or less okay now, we're ready to move on. Do 1 or 2 knee raises just to make sure your hip flexors in the front are working. And we're gonna get into the most important chunk. We're gonna fold at the hips, pop into a bit of a squat. We're gonna put some pressure on the knees by bringing them forward. When you bring the knees forward, you're going to naturally put a lot of pressure on the ankles, into the Achilles tendon, into the calves. And from here, I want you to do a little bit of a calf raise. If you can stay strong, stay balanced, and also move at the same time, all the muscles, for the most part, in your hips, in your legs, are working well together. And if you can do that without pain, then you are ready to go and hang out and do whatever you got to do for the rest of the day. Thank you, everybody, for coming in, practicing consistency, doing the live workout with me today. Again, if you're just joining in, somehow you don't know yet, we do 45 to 60 minutes of live side split stretching and hip mobility every single day to practice consistency, to build a little bit of community. I try to bring good vibes to the internet. I hope you bring good vibes into the chat, because the goal is to make suffering on the floor every day a little bit more fun, a little bit more rewarding, a little bit more entertaining, so that we can all practice and make a bunch of progress in our hip mobility, in our side splits together. Whew. That's the spiel. If you enjoyed the live, if you enjoy the thing that we're trying to do, make sure to hit follow, make sure to hit subscribe, and keep coming back. Right now is 9 a.m., or I guess it's 10 a.m.-ish Eastern, and we just wrapped up a special live. This is the live that we do on the weekends. On the weekends, we do a live that starts at 9 a.m. 7 days a week, every day, we do a live at 9 p.m., which means in like 10 hours and 48 minutes, there's going to be another live at our regular 9 p.m. Eastern time. Feel free to come in and join if you'd like. If you're brand new and you want to practice the movements a little bit more, you want to hear me explain it again, possibly in a slightly different way, that's the time to do it. But there's absolutely no reason for you to come 2 times in one day. All right. Yeah. So don't stress out about it. Cool. Whew. All right, I'm gonna check the comments because I have not been back by the phones in a while, and I'm gonna figure out what is up. Ganowski says, I love the 9 a.m. Lovely. That is really good to hear because I like doing the 9 a.m. Ganowski asks, Roxy, do you stretch too? I've always wondered. I'll let Trouble Roxy answer that. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. I'm scrolling up through the chat, see what we are missing. Carol says, thank you so much, and sends hearts. Lovely. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for doing the whole entire thing and practicing consistency. I don't know if it's your first time, but if it is, then welcome, and I hope you enjoyed it. If it's not your first time, thank you for coming and practicing consistency. I appreciate it. Red Fishing for Life says mid-back neck. I'm going to double check if there are some comments right before that. When I roll, my hips sound bumpy. Ooh, okay, there's so many things to talk about. I am looking for mid-back neck and where that connects to another thought. Okay, I can't find anything. So let's talk about bumpy hips. If you feel like your hips are going as you work, I just did the same thing. Something just snapped in my hip. If you're feeling like it's getting a little bit stuck and there's like some weird texture or something going on in your hip, usually that's pretty normal for the first couple of times that you're working on your hip mobility. And part of the reason is because you got a lot of complex muscles and tissues and stuff going on, growing and keeping your body working, right? Like your leg literally can go from here. If you are a really strong dancer person, you can lift it up really high into the air, across, back, and do all this stuff, right? So there's a whole bunch of tissue, tendon, fascia, muscle, infrastructure in the leg, in the hip, making it possible for you to do all those things. So when you are trying to do something for the first time, basically ever, you're introducing something brand new that your body has never really done and has never needed to do. And the infrastructure is just not going to be built out for that type of movement. It can do those movements. It can adapt to being able to do those movements. It potentially could be able to do those movements had you done a little bit more training, if you use those muscles in that way before. But it doesn't. You can't right now. And that's usually what that bumpiness is. It's where the rest of the tissues in your leg are going, wait, what? What the heck? why are we getting pinched right now? What's going on? Keep at it for a little bit and see if it starts to feel better. Typically, I know when I first start the hip cars as the first warm-up exercise that we do every morning, I am definitely a little bit more stiff and a little bit more and let's see. Usually, by the time we finish, I am feeling much better and moving a lot more smoother. So sometimes it's just warming up, getting your hips grooving, moving, and other times you just need to put in the reps until your hips reconstruct themselves and figure out how they're going to allow you to move, because apparently you're going to move in this new way now. Cool. All right. Ooh. Let's see what else we got. Scrolling up. I think I just saw a question earlier, and then I scrolled right past it. Any tips for why muscles would feel dry? I honestly have no idea what you're talking about when you say feel dry. But muscles store a lot of water. So if you feel like you're not moving well, maybe hydration is an issue. And maybe it's a quite literal dry to wet situation. Muscles would feel dry. I don't know what the question is asking about. So we're going to move on. Let's see what else we got. What else has come in? I'm scrolling. And we got a couple of thanks. You're very welcome, Susan. I don't even know if you're thanking me, but you might be. Nope, it's probably travel with Rexa that you're thinking. One underrated exercise is walking backwards on a treadmill that's turned off and has a bit of an incline. Yes, absolutely. If you are having some knee issues and it's just a little bit of achy discomfort, or maybe it's a little bit more severe than that, I definitely recommend you walk backwards. Just normal walking backwards might not be super impactful, but if you walk backwards on a treadmill and you're actively dragging your foot forward, trying to pull the rubber mat thing of the treadmill forward, it puts a lot of tension right here in the front of the knee. And I have had an achy knee right here on the left side for years and years and years and years. I think, what month are we in? It's January. I think about 3-4 months ago, I did probably 2 months worth of knee rehab focused stuff from a account called Knees Over Toes Guy, who's also on YouTube and also on Instagram. I don't know about TikTok. And one of the super basic things that he suggests is to do walking backwards on a treadmill with the treadmill turned off. So you don't even need a working treadmill. You can get a broken treadmill and it will work just fine. This motion of forcing the knee to extend your leg and then in front of you is crazy. Like, I'll walk into the gym, walk onto the treadmill, being like, oh man, clearly it's gonna rain later today. My knee is like super achy, uncomfortable right now. And within 2 minutes doing the backwards walking on a treadmill, it feels night and day difference. And I have absolutely no idea how that works, because I'll go through a whole day and I'll have that achy knee like discomfort, just doing whatever normal stuff I have to do during the day. And somehow this treadmill thing has been massively, massively useful. And I don't think I've had any issues with my knee in a while. So I haven't done any backwards walking on a treadmill in 3 or 4 months, pretty much. I also haven't found a good treadmill that will walk backwards. I have found a couple that don't have that function at all somehow. And I just go, oh God. So yeah, backwards walking on a treadmill, really good for the knees. If you're struggling with other knee things, Knees Over Toes Guy has a whole entire curriculum. You can find most of the important stuff completely for free on his YouTube channel. So, it's free. But the main thing that he emphasizes is a deep split squat. And I'll show you a pretty advanced variation that you can make a little bit easier for your needs. The goal of the deep split squat is to bring that knee really far forward over your toes, get into sort of a lunge position, and just hang out in something that looks like this, and then come back up. You're putting a lot of pressure into that knee joint. So if you're not able to handle that right now, take your time and build up to it. How do you do that, you ask? Or I pretend that you're asking. This is not a good example of what you should do. You should elevate that front foot, and you want to get into that position as much as you can, and focus on getting into that knee forward position as much as you can, basically. Over time, as you get stronger, you can lift weights. As you get stronger, this back leg, the hip flexors will get more mobile, and you'll start doing something that looks more and more and more like a split, right? So you can accidentally unlock a front split. So I've heard from just doing the deep split squats, because you're spending so much time with this back leg extended out here. But the main focus for your knee health is actually to put your knees in this position and put a lot of force into it and hold that tension so that you're getting stronger and slowly taking care of that knee. There are a bunch of other supplementary exercises that Knees Over Toes Guy recommends. One of them is calf raises, or I guess technically 2 of them are calf raises. So you can just do calf raises from this type of position, right? You can make it a little bit more advanced by, where's the camera? You can make it a little bit more advanced by elevating your front of the foot, and I'm gonna hold on to this for balance, getting into a calf stretch, right? So my heel is lower than my toes, and we're in a stretched position, and going from the calf stretch position to a calf raise position. I recommend you don't use a yoga block. Use something a little bit more sturdy and won't crush under the weight of your body. And then there is a second calf muscle that gets way less attention. It's called the soleus muscle. And the only way to work that muscle is if your knee is bent, right? The previous calf stretch that we just did, the leg was straight and we were going up and down. For the soleus calf muscle, if you bend your knee and do the same thing, you start working that second calf muscle. And you might be able to see it on my leg. There's this big bump, that's the main calf, and then there's that second bump over here, that's the soleus muscle. So when your knee is bent and you're leaning forward and your knees are over your toes and you work on a calf raise from this position, that is a second calf raise that works a slightly different muscle. Those are two calf raises. And you can also elevate the foot like so with the knee bent and do the calf raise, right? So you can add the calf stretch into the calf raise at any time. What else we got? Front. So the inverse, I guess, of the calf raise is the tibialis raise. We strengthen the muscles and stretch out the muscles in the back. Now we want to stretch out and work the muscles here in the front of the leg. This is called the tibialis muscle. And the body weight free at home version exercise looks a little bit like this. We're going to lean our butts against the wall. And we're just going to pull the toes up into the air. The first 3, 4 might feel like really easy. But as you get to 10, as you get to 15, as you get to 20, 25, these high reps, they're going to get really exhausting. And you're going to really feel the burn. So that is the tib raise. To make the tibia raise harder or easier, you got a couple of options. If you get really close to the wall, it tends to be a little bit easier. If you get further from the wall, it tends to be a little bit harder. I think, can I even tell the difference right now? No, I think closer to the wall, it's easier. Further from the wall, it's harder. And if you're really looking to elevate the intensity, you can do it with one leg. And that gets really hard. So, what did we cover? We did the tibia raises, tibialis raises in the front of the leg. We did the 2 different calf raises, and then we did the deep split squat. Those cover probably the most important 4 exercises to get your knees performing a little bit better. The calf and tibialis raises is mostly about being strong enough to slow you down. If you were jumping and trying to land, right? The tibialis muscle and the calves absorb a lot of impacts. That impact doesn't slam right into your joints, right into your knee. And that's why we spend the time taking care of those. There's a bunch of other exercises. I find that they were probably more supplementary than, the previous 4 that I just showed you. Cool. And backwards walking. Backwards walking is like the super easy, don't have to think about it. You can use it to just warm up version. You can actually, if you don't like backwards walking on a treadmill, you can actually jog backwards. And by jogging, you're putting a little bit more impact, you're putting a little bit more strength into the movement. And it will be a closer replica of that pressure of pulling your knee forward on a treadmill that's off than just walking. I think walking, when you walk, you're just casually like leaning in the direction and you're kind of like falling in that direction. So it requires a little bit less effort. That is an incredibly long spiel about knee stuff. I hope that was useful. And I'm going to come back into the chat and see what's going on. Neko Panda says, I'm back. He almost fell. Damn, it's been 1 hour. When did I almost fall? Okay. Queen RR responded with, yeah, a lot of people on TikTok has asked questions. Great. Neko Panda, thank you for being here. Thank you for checking in. Neko Panda is one of my first viewers of the live when I started up on YouTube. I have not been doing YouTube and TikTok for that long. It's only been 3 or 4 months, maybe just a little bit longer than that. And so Neko Panda has been hanging out. We used to do the lives at a slightly different time, which is more favorable to the European audiences. And so that was the time that worked out. The recent times, which are 9 p.m. Eastern, is like 3 or 4 o'clock. That's not even true. I don't even know what time it is. I'm bad at this. Really early in the morning. And so Neko Panda only shows up now on our morning lives because that's the only time that makes sense. Cool. You got a huge introduction. I'm scrolling, I'm seeing what we got. All right, back to TikTok. I'm gonna scroll to the bottom of the chat and see what else is going on, because I've been scrolling to the top trying to make sure we hit the old stuff first. Where we at? Ganowski, Trevor actually says, Ganowski, aha, at times when I'm not monitoring the chats, I'm trying to get my front splits. And yes, indeed, the front splits are hard. And the deep split squats that we were just talking about can be really good for that bag leg. Typically, most people, and if you're on the live, you know that you can fold forward enough to get into something sufficient for the side split. Most people are going to struggle with this bag leg and bring the leg back far enough in this position in order to get into a side split, right? Because if you imagine what a side split looks like, if your chest is going straight up and your front leg is just going over there, that is basically the same as this, right? Like, you can more or less hit this or get very close to it pretty quickly. It's the bag leg, this thing going backwards, that we were struggling with doing the pigeon, that is what needs to be worked on. And so when you spend a lot of time in the deep split squats, you maybe are holding weights as you come in and out of that deep split squat. You're working this hip, you're working on strengthening those back leg muscles, and it can be super helpful to build up that front split with something that feels completely different and is also good for your knees. Whew. Okay, back to the comments. T says, hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Travel actually says, sounds like I need to do more ATG split squats. That probably came in the first time I was talking about those. Cool. All right, that I believe is pretty much all of the chat, at least the ending portions of it. I just scrolled really fast to the top to see if anything else is here. Oh, the HRT coach says, let me follow you now. Oh, lovely. Thank you for following. Mint Capybara says, wow, that warm-up is intense. Yes, absolutely. The warm-up has to be a little bit intense to get us warmed up and prepared to do the stretches and make the stretches really count, right? Because we only do one round of 30 seconds of the static stretch. And if we just went into that stretch cold, you probably wouldn't feel that much change in your stretching. So we got to warm up, and it is intense warm up. It's a lot, but that warm up is really good in a lot of ways, right? Like, we're moving the hips right at the very beginning, trying to get the hips going. Then we spend a lot of time taking care of the hamstrings so that when we do stretch the hamstrings, they actually respond and go do things. And then the Cossack switch is just like a super powerful exercise stretch tool that helps you do a lot of different things, right? We kind of talked about it, and I don't know if everybody in the live right now was here for the Cossack switch, but when you're in the Cossack switch, half your body is basically in like this really compact, deep, squatted position. And the other leg is basically doing half of a side split, right? So just by hanging out here, you're actually training a lot of different, really intense muscles. You might actually notice that, for me at least, just being in the Cossack switch, if you look at the center of my body out to that leg, this might be deeper into that side split position than I can get into with the side split with two legs. There's no muscles in between connecting each of these legs. So, the ability to split is frequently determined by your brain going, hey, that's dangerous, I don't like this, and not letting you get into a deeper position. You might now know that you can get really close into a side split already, and you just need to do the training to get your body to accept that this is the new you and you are ready for some side splits. Okay, What else? That's the warm up. Yeah, the movements are pretty intense, but I think we need to make sure that the whole body is warmed up, ready to go for the stretches to make sure the stretches count, and you do a good job with the stretches. Because if you're coming in cold and you're just doing one hamstring stretch and you're folding forward and you don't have like that elephant walk building up, you're only going to get so far. We spend more time in that elephant walk warming up the hamstrings than we did in the actual hamstring stretch by quite a bit. And if you didn't notice, pay attention next time. But when I get into that elephant walk for the first time, usually it's the first time I'm getting into that stretch, and my hamstrings are super tight. So if it looks like I'm getting stuck at 90 degrees when we first start, it's because I am getting stuck at 90 degrees. And as we hang out here and I'm saying, relax, chill, whatever else I say, I'm slowly relaxing into a deeper hamstring stretch. And when we do the elephant walk, and I keep on saying, bring the belly button down, and you're feeling all the tingly sensations of your hamstrings shifting and doing stuff, that is exactly what's happening in my leg. I'm just describing what I'm feeling. And that stuff is absolutely super important to get the hamstrings prepared for all the other stuff that we're going to do. Because the standing pancake would be so much more awful if your hamstrings were not warmed up with the elephant walks, weren't already working those muscles, getting them to move. Yeah, and that's why the warm-up is really intense. So yes, you're correct. It's an intense warm-up. And hopefully it helps us feel better. Actually, we've run the test. I forgot to do the elephant walks one time in the winter. At this point, almost like 10 months ago, last year. And it was super noticeable. And we had other people comment that it was a massive difference, that it should not be skipped. So the warm-up is refined. Lara AOVD says, huh. Okay, I'm going to look for a message that precedes the huh. Nope, not seeing one. Okay, well, in that case, huh. Cool. I think that's all the chats. I think we have responded to basically everything. I'm checking YouTube right now, and it looks good. So I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and practicing consistency with me today. I hope you had fun. I hope you're feeling good. You've gotten your exercise in for the day. You're going to crush whatever else you got planned for the weekend. Hope you had fun. And as usual, follow, subscribe, hang out for more. We got another live in about 10 and a half hours at 9 p.m. Eastern. And if you're ready for that, come on in. Otherwise, the next live is in about 24 hours. Lisa asks, what is your schedule? 7 days a week, we do 9 p.m. Eastern. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, we do 9 a.m. on both those days. So right now, what we just wrapped up was the 9 a.m. show. It should be 10:36 a.m. right now. So we ran for about 95 minutes. The last 30 or so was Q&A, just answering questions and talking about stuff. The first 60-ish minutes was warming up, getting the body prepared, doing some stretches, and a lot of explaining and teaching so that people feel more or less comfortable to jump right in and hang out and do the stretches. Cool. All right, that's it. I hope you had fun, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. Boom, boom.